Have you ever really stopped to think how texts written thousands of years ago could possibly connect with our world today? You know, our hyper-connected, really tech-focused lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and for anyone curious about ancient wisdom, the Yajurveda, well, it often pops up, usually linked to rituals, right?
That's the common association, yes.
But I think the real deep dive question for us today, and for you listening, is maybe beyond just the ceremonies, how do its core ideas, its principles actually resonate, especially with the challenges we face right now?
That's exactly the right place to start. Because the name itself, Yajurveda, literally translates to the knowledge of yajnas.
Okay, break that down a bit.
Sure. Yajus means yajna, like sacrifice or ritual, and Veda, well, that means knowledge.
So knowledge of rituals makes sense.
Precisely. And it's
Got it.
generally known for, detailing those rituals as sacrificial processes.
And it has different branches too, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Two main streams. The Krishna Yajurveda, or Black Yajurveda,
Mhm.
and the Shukla Yajurveda, the white one. And both go into, really incredible detail. They explain the mantras, the exact methods, the rules, and the deeper objectives behind performing yajna.
Right.
But here's the kicker, and this sets up our whole conversation, I think.
Mhm.
Given that it seems so focused on ancient rituals,
Mm-hmm.
what possible relevance, what enduring relevance can yajna actually hold for us now? In this age of science and technology. That's what we really need to unpack.
That really is the core question, isn't it? Because for most people, like you said, yajna probably brings up images of, well, fire, offerings, that kind of thing.
That's the surface image, definitely.
But you're suggesting the Yajurveda's own view is much deeper than just that.
Absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting and maybe challenges our modern assumptions.
Okay.
It's not just about, physically putting something into a fire.
Okay.
The text itself gives us a huge clue. It elevates the whole concept of Agni fire
Yeah.
in a very specific mantra.
Which one is that?
It goes, Agnimeli Purohitam Yagnasya Divamritvijam. Basically, I worship Agni, who is the priest of the yajna.
The priest of the yajna. So Agni isn't just the fire pit.
Exactly. The key insight here is that Agni isn't just literal flames. It's a symbol, a really profound one.
Symbolizing what?
It represents, multiple things. The flame of knowledge, for one, also the spirit of sacrifice, but maybe better understood as selfless contribution,
Okay. Contribution.
and the aspiration, the deep desire for collective welfare, for the good of everyone.
Wow. Okay. So if we take that understanding, that symbolic view, does that mean everyday actions could be seen as yajna? Things like, I don't know, community service,
Mhm.
donating blood,
Mhm.
planting trees?
Yes, I think they absolutely could. This is where the Yajurveda suddenly feels incredibly current, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's not just about the external ritual, the act itself.
Mhm.
It's about the internal alignment, the intention behind it. Is it selfless? Is it aimed at collective well-being?
Mm.
The Yajurveda actually has a saying for this, Kridvanto Vishwamariyam.
Which means,
Roughly, strive to make everyone excellent, or strive to elevate the whole world. So, working for the development of society, contributing to the greater good, that aligns perfectly with the true spirit of yajna.
that's actually quite transformative. It reframes it completely.
It really does. It moves it from ancient ritual to present-day ethical action.
Okay, so that's the deeper meaning. But what about the rituals we are more familiar with? Things people still do today, maybe, like purification ceremonies, or mundan, the head shaving thing, or even Shanti Path, peace chanting. Does the Yajurveda talk about those?
It touches upon the idea of rituals, of course, but maybe not in the way you'd expect. The Yajurveda is actually quite clear that it doesn't advocate for unnecessary rituals, empty ones.
Really? So it's not just a big book of
Well,
ceremonies.
not at all. Instead, it places the profound emphasis on something much more fundamental,
Duty.
duty.
Yes.
There's the famous line,
Satyam Veda Dharmam Chara.
speak the truth. Exactly. Speak the truth. Practice Dharma. And the crucial part here is understanding Dharma. In this context, it really means duty, your responsibilities. It's not just about worship in a narrow sense,
Right.
or blindly following tradition.
That's a pretty strong stance, isn't it? If the focus is on duty, on dharma, over just performing rituals, how does that help us look at the social practices we see now?
Well, it gives us a lens to evaluate them.
How so?
Think about rituals or customs done purely out of habit, or maybe social pressure, or even fear, without any real understanding or deeper purpose behind them.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
From a Yajurvedic viewpoint, you'd have to ask, does this practice serve a genuine moral or social purpose? Is it aligned with truth and duty?
And if it doesn't? It's just for show or based on fear.
That, yes, the implication is that it deviates from the core principles. Maybe it should be questioned or even abandoned. The emphasis is consistently on the why, the intention and the ethical foundation, not just the what.
That makes sense. It shifts the focus inward, which actually brings up another point, a big historical question, really. What about women? There's this common idea, this misconception perhaps, about women's roles in ancient Vedic times.
Ah, yes, a very important point.
According to the Yajurveda itself, were women allowed to perform yajnas? Could they chant the mantras?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. The text itself provides the evidence.
Oh, so.
The Yajurveda consistently refers to women using terms like vidudushi,
Which means?
learned,
Hmm.
a learned woman, and also rishika, a female sage, a seer.
Wow. Rishta.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop there. It even elevates the concept of intellect itself and associates it with the feminine divine. There's a line, Ya Devi Sarvaputeshu Buddhirupena Samsita,
Okay.
which essentially sees woman, or the goddess, as the very form of intellect present in all beings. It highlights a position of immense respect and capability.
So this whole narrative that sometimes you hear that women couldn't read the Vedas, couldn't perform yashnas, that's completely at odds with the original spirit of the Yajurveda.
Completely. It absolutely goes against it. Those restrictions, that discrimination. That's not found in the original Vedic text like the Yajurveda.
So where did it come from?
It seems to be from later social distortions, interpretations, and customs that unfortunately crept in over time. The original Vedic view, as reflected here, was clearly one of equality and recognized the profound spiritual and intellectual capabilities of women.
That's a really crucial distinction to make. Powerful. Okay, so we've talked about individual duty, societal roles. Let's zoom out even further. The environment.
Very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, with the environmental crisis we're facing, it feels like we need all the wisdom we can get. Does the Yajurveda offer anything, any guidance that feels, well, usable today?
It offers something incredibly profound, I think. The Yajurveda presents a unique perspective on our relationship with the earth, a really fundamental one. There's this beautiful, powerful mantra, Mata Bhumi Putraham Prithvya.
Okay, what does that mean?
Earth is my mother, I am her son.
Wow. Mother Earth, son of Earth.
Exactly. And think about what that implies. It's not just a nice poetic phrase. It portrays our relationship with the entire environment, with nature, as this sacred, intimate bond, like that between a mother and child.
Which implies responsibility, reverence.
Both a deep sense of responsibility, care, and profound reverence. It completely shifts the perspective from resource extraction to reciprocal relationship.
So those traditional practices you sometimes see, like worshiping trees or rituals around conserving water, were those maybe less about superstition and more about enacting that duty, that relationship?
Precisely. They weren't just symbolic gestures, or at least they weren't meant to be. They were lived expressions of that sacred bond, ways of showing respect and fulfilling that duty of care towards the mother.
That makes so much sense.
And it goes further. In the Yajurvedic view, every natural element, air, water, fire, earth, ether, is considered a deity, a divine force, honored, respected.
So not just inert resources.
Not at all. It's a deeply holistic and interconnected view. We are part of nature, nature is sacred, and we have a duty towards it. It feels incredibly modern, yet it's ancient.
It really does strike you how relevant these ideas still feel. So would it be fair to say the Yajurveda is maybe less about rigid dogma, less about fixed rules, and more about a kind of scientific and ethical approach to living?
I think that's a very accurate way to put it. That's the heart of it, really. If you had to
Yeah.
boil down the essence of the Yajurveda, its core message for today,
Yeah.
especially maybe for younger generations,
Yeah.
it could probably be captured in 4 key concepts: duty, truth, service, and dedication.
Duty, truth, service, dedication.
Imagine if those 4 principles were truly internalized and acted upon. Think about the potential for positive change.
It's immense.
And the Yajurveda isn't just focused inward. It has this vision for universal well-being. There's a mantra, Swastina and Yuvrashava, Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda. What you ask for, it's a prayer for auspiciousness, for well-being, calling upon forces associated with knowledge and nourishment to bring prosperity and good fortune to everyone. It's a vision for a thriving, interconnected society.
And that vision isn't based on just blind faith, is it? It seems grounded in
Ethical action, in living truthfully, fulfilling duties, serving others, and respecting the natural world. It's presented very much as a practical, almost scientific way of life.
which is fascinating. It seems to place much more weight on action, on service, on equality, than on performing rituals just for the sake of it.
Absolutely. The ritual, the yajna, finds its true meaning when it translates into these ethical actions and intentions in daily life.
So if we really grasp that original spirit, that essence you're talking about,
Yes,
it suggests we could actually work towards a society that's maybe freer from hypocrisy, from inequality, more connected to our duties to each other and to the planet.
that's the potential, I
Yeah.
believe. By understanding and perhaps readopting that original perspective, yes, it offers a powerful blueprint.
That is a lot to think about. It really challenges the way we might typically view these ancient texts, doesn't it?
It certainly invites us to look deeper.
And this journey, this kind of shift in understanding, it probably starts with exactly what we're doing now, right? Education, dialogue, asking questions.
And introspection, looking within ourselves.
Yeah. And the Yajurveda itself seems to point towards that inner journey too, doesn't it? There's that incredibly famous mantra,
Tamaso mabjyotiga maya.
lead us from darkness to light.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And perhaps that is the ultimate purpose underlying everything in the Yajurveda, that journey towards internal light, towards clarity, towards enlightened living.
A path from ignorance to wisdom, lived out through duty and service. What a powerful message. So we encourage you, listening, to think about what stood out for you from this deep dive. How might these ancient ideas about duty, truth, service, and our connection to nature inspire you today?
It's worth reflecting on.
Definitely. And next time, we're going to be exploring another fascinating Veda. We'll be diving into the Atharva Veda, tradition of life, disease, and science.
Looking forward to that one.
Me too. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep with us.